Hi, I'm Ashlie Smith, and welcome to this episode of Nature in the Hills. Today we'll be taking a walking tour of our brand new Nature Discovery Trail. With us today is Deputy Director Bryan Farmer. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Nature Discovery Trail and how it got started?
Well, the trail, we have two sections of the park. It's sort of separated out. We have the splash pad area, the playground area. That's over on the northeast side of the park.
Right.
On this side, we have more of the nature center, the historical type buildings like the barn, the Longacre house, the stables. So it's sort of two separate areas of the park, and a lot of times our camps and our
Visiting public
coming to the splash pad, well, they don't know how to get over here.
Right.
The trails obviously take you eventually to the separate areas, but we thought a more direct route for especially the littler kids would be cool. So as you know, we thought, all right, how do we connect these two together? So instead of just creating just a normal pathway that gets them from here to there, we thought, well, let's enhance a little bit and do a sensory trail, and we call it Nature Discovery Trail. So that's sort of the history of just more of a connector between the two different areas of the park.
Making it more of an experience as they walk from one end to the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. So who are some of the folks, I should say, that helped on the trail, different partnerships that we had as we worked on the trail?
Well, as you know, you were a big part of it. All the Nature Center staff really came up with the concept with the different parts of the trail. As we'll walk through it and see the different names of the areas and what each area does. So it sort of started with the Nature Center staff saying, let's connect this and make it cool. Then our park staff really stepped in and said, and did a lot of the work.
Right.
And with the hands-on with developing the signage,
Yeah.
with everything that all the bones that
Right. A lot of the elements on the trail are handmade by the park staff, so it's pretty cool. Everyone has kind of like their own touch on the trail.
Right.
And especially our volunteers that we had come out and help on different things, from the cool tracks trail that we made to finishing the longhouse to even just something as simple as mulching the trail. So that volunteers really helped with that stuff too.
Right, and that's sort of what's cool too. All the mulch is like all from these woods.
Right.
So the ash trees that were taken down because of the disease with the ash, the emerald ash borer,
Right.
they were taken down, making the trail more safe, getting rid of the deadfall, and these are actually used
wood
from
chips
the
from
trail.
that.
So it's all natural. There's not a lot of added stuff. Even the posts are cedar, so it's not like a 4x4 treated wood. It's actual natural stuff. So.
Yeah, it's made to have a lot of natural elements so that kids can have a fun time, a cool experience out in nature, playing off trail, but in a safe way. So they can kind of use their imagination, something as simple as just balancing on logs, playing in the sand pit, things like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think one of the coolest parts of what got me excited about the trail is that there's not a lot of places where kids can run through the woods, and like just a lot of our trails, you're supposed to stay on the trail
Right.
just to protect some of the plants and wildlife. But on this trail, it allows you to go and just explore the woods, and there's not a lot of people in Farmington Hills and Farmington that has acres and acres of land they can just go run through. It's
Right.
usually maybe an acre or two at the most for land. So this is a really unique experience that kids get to have.
Right, and it adds a lot to our school and our scout programs and things like that at the Nature Center too. We've used it multiple times already just on adding elements to our program. So on top of the public enjoying it just on a day-to-day basis, we add it to our school programs and scout programs too at the Nature Center. So it's a pretty cool experience for the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Just there's not a lot of there's a lot of amenities here in the park. We don't want to build it up and have all this stuff going on like Disney World.
Right.
But just to keep it natural and have still a natural place with the Nature Discovery Trail. We do have, again, the playground, the splash pad, but we don't need to have a bunch of extra stuff thrown into it. There's so
Right.
much nature provides.
Yeah.
So with our camps, that's just I know a lot of people want to come here because
Right.
there's so much like just nature, and you
trails
don't
are
get that a lot of
awesome.
places.
And this will just add to the kids just exploring on their own and finding out their own cool things in nature, exploring on the trail. So with that being said, I think maybe we should go for a walk
All right,
and check
cool.
out some
Let's
of the
go
cool
check it
stuff
out.
on the trail.
All right.
So the first thing that you see when you come onto the trail is the huge entrance sign saying Nature Discovery Trail, letting everyone know this is what's here.
Right.
But there's a really cool story behind this sign. Could you share that with us?
Well, Joe Gieboard in our Parks Division is very creative. We have a lot of creative staff, obviously, since the trail is, as we go, you'll see how creative we can get. But Joe Gieboard had an idea, and he actually saw some down trees and the Farmington golf course, and said, "Hey, I can use those." He'd been looking for some actual posts for this trail. We want to make a grandiose sign.
Yeah,
and
but
really
also make it natural looking.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So he took these white spruce that were downed at the Farmington golf course. They were knocked down from a storm or some other damage. So he actually took this and made these into a natural post. The top of the sign was actually from the lawacre house. The tree had came down, so he took that limb and cut it in half. And then also the words on the Nature Discovery Trail was from the cedar shake shingles from the
When we redid the roof.
right. So he actually made those into words. So it was all natural stuff, and didn't go to the store or Home Depot to buy the stuff. It was all natural. So it was really cool.
Yeah, so kind of recycling and reusing the same stuff there to create this cool sign.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. And you can really see it when you come into the park too.
Right.
So
Right.
let's go check out what's next down here.
Cool. So since we've opened the trail, have you seen a lot of people using the trail? Is it?
Yeah, it's been really busy. A lot of families have been coming out using the trail, but especially kids, because a lot of the elements on the trail are specifically designed for kids to use and have fun.
Right.
So we're coming up to the first activity now. It's called Hidden Hollow. And so there's a lot of cool things to do in this section. So can you tell us a little bit about what kids can do on this area?
Well, it's first of all, it started with, which is pretty cool, Eagle Scout came to you
Right.
and wanted to do a project. So he put these chimes out, which came up with the whole idea, the concept, which is really cool, and then had some natural downwood and made some different elements. So the other part is the longhouse, which the after-school program came to us and said, "Hey, let us build this cool little house, and it'll be part of their project for the whole summer."
Right.
And that's what they did. So they had some volunteers, some staff, and kids that put together an interpretation of a longhouse.
Right.
Which were made from what tribe of Indians?
Well, no specific tribe for this longhouse,
Right.
but traditionally Iroquois would make longhouses.
Okay. So yeah, it sort of got a little bit of Native American history, as well as some cool elements for the Nature Discovery
Right.
Trail. And then the other part is just a natural teepee, and then a council ring, which the council ring offers you a lot of.
Place.
How are you going to use that council ring?
Yeah, well, for our school programs, we use it a lot for when the kids first come to the nature center to kind of introduce them to the site, but then also as a station even for different school programs that we have. So it's a great gathering spot. But one of the things I wanted to point out quickly before we go look at some of the other items up close is that all of our signs kind of let folks know what the different elements are, but then it also kind of lets them know this is how you use your senses on the trail. We talked about how our original thoughts was this would be a sensory trail.
Right.
You can you use your sense of sight, touch, hearing, talking to folks on the council ring. So it's kind of a neat way to showcase how you're going to use your senses along the trail.
So the eye would mean you're seeing, so
Right.
you're exploring the longhouse.
Right.
The hands would be you're building a debris shelter,
Yeah.
so you're using your touch.
Sense of touch.
And then the play and the musical chimes is hearing.
Yep.
And then you're telling a story at the council ring, you're using your
Right.
voice or...
And most of the time you're using more than one sense at one moment, but these are to focus on these specific senses along the trail.
So as we go along the trail, this is only one part of the sensory trail.
Yes.
Although it's called the Nature Discovery Trail,
Right.
it's a sensory trail,
Yeah.
the type of trail it is.
Right.
Right.
So let's go and look at some of these other things up close.
Cool. All right. So here's the longhouse. This is pretty neat too because it's all made from natural material within the park. So what are some of the materials that the longhouse is made out of?
Right, it's a great focal point for the Nature Discovery Trail because it does have all these natural elements. One of the things you notice first off is all the grapevine used to weave in and out. It's called the wattle and daub. Yeah, wattle and daub in here. And it was used to kind of create the wall space of the front door area. And then you look closer, you can see that there's individual kind of tree trunks in here. A lot of it was buckthorn and then even like small ash trees that were already down trees in the park that were used to make the longhouse. And then if you look up at the top, you kind of see something that almost looks like straw. And that's called Phragmites. It's a non-native invasive plant. So they were able to also harvest that from the park and use it to create almost like shingles for the longhouse.
Okay, right. So inside, is it rain, or I mean, is it pretty good with keeping the rain out?
Yeah, it stays pretty
or?
dry. I've actually had some programs out here where it's been a little sprinkly or rainy, and we went into the longhouse to do some activities, and it's been fairly dry in there.
So good
it's
shelter.
done, yeah, really
Cool.
good job with building of it for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. So now we're at Lookout Mountain, another section of the trail. And again, the sign is showcasing some of the ways that you can use your senses on the trail. So can you tell us a little bit about using your sense of sight for this trail?
Yeah, there's so many cool things in the tree, and as kids will look up, they'll see like all of a sudden there's a turkey in the tree
Right.
or an owl. It's just neat. Like imagine yourself going back when you were little and like just seeing, like looking up and see and you
Creatures
see
kind of
something
hidden
cool.
in the
Right.
trees. I know a lot of times too we have the chimes and different mirrors to reflect light at different times of the day to add that kind of element to it. And then also there's different little creatures hidden along that are camouflaged that you might not see right away, and then as you kind of look closer you spot them on the trail.
Right. And as you go up the trail, I mean, again, even as an adult, you walk up and you see this hill, and it's like, all right, what's on the other side of that
Right.
hill? You know, you always want to see what's over there.
Curiosity to see
Right.
what's up at the top.
So again, look, as a little kid, you think like you know, there's that sense of like, what's up there?
Right.
And so they want to go explore, and I've seen little kids walk up it and like sort of like can't wait to get to the top. And so it's really neat.
Yeah. So let's go check it out.
All right,
Let's start
go.
walking up.
So here we are at the sort of the halfway point of the Lookout Mountain. What are some ways that we're going to use this for programs or like just on your own? You mentioned something about like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, so like I said before, there's a lot of things that are hidden on the trail. Some of them are more obvious than others. So behind us, you can see that there's some wind chimes. You know, one's a little bit more camouflaged than the other, so you're going to hear those before you see them. So that's a cool lesson to teach kids when you're out bird watching, things like that. You're going to see the bird or hear the birds, I'm sorry, before you see them. Some other animals that are hidden up in the trees. Over here, there's an owl kind of peeking around the trunk of the tree, so kids might spot that. A turkey over there kind of perched up there roosting in the tree. So what we do is we kind of are going to be doing a scavenger hunt, not only for our school programs, but also when there's visitors at the nature center, they can pick up a scavenger hunt and it might say, you know, find these 5 animals along the trail, or find some, you know, what can you spot as you walk along the Lookout Mountain trail along the sides.
Right.
So you can see things from maybe differently from the bottom of the trail as you would from the top of the trail.
Right. And I noticed there's some natural features, like even like there's oak trees with some leaves still on them, or there's a couple nests that I see like in different areas that are.
Yeah, there's squirrel's nests and bird's nests, and there's a couple different kinds of trees. So it's a good spot to stop and identify some different trees, especially by the bark. And obviously when the leaves come out, it'll be a really cool spot too.
Right, cool,
Yeah.
awesome. Sit here.
Yeah. So we made it to the top. It's kind of a big climb. Some people, when they start climbing, I don't think realize how tall Lookout Mountain is.
Right.
But from up here, if you look around, you have a panoramic view of the pond, the nature center, the rest of the nature discovery trail at the bottom of the hill. You can even see out to Farmington Road. So it is a really cool spot to sit and kind of observe what's going on in the park all around you. And one of the first things that we noticed when we came up here too were the sounds changed.
Yeah.
So you
there's the sound, the ear, right?
So you heard different sounds at the top of the hill than you do at the bottom. So you can really hear the toads calling from the pond, especially this time of year in spring when they're calling really loudly. So that was neat to see how the sounds changed as we got to the top.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That, you know, I look out right now and you see there's not a lot of leaves on the trees, and
Right.
then I wonder what's going to look like in the summer, and it's going to change. So it's always like all times of the year you've got a different experience when you're coming up, like to Lookout Mountain.
It's always going to be different. And that's
Right.
something cool too, is that the animals that we have hidden in the trees right now, or the different cool things that we have hidden along Lookout Mountain, we can kind of change them as the seasons change, and kids can look for them in different spots. So
Right.
when families come to visit, the trail will always be different.
And what's cool is we got this bench here, which is another thing that our Parks Division came up, a good idea. Another, you know, a person, Elsie Price, was awesome in terms of putting all this together. And I mean, you can't say enough about our park staff, our
Right.
nature center staff, that just, the ideas and the creativity. And again, this bench was made from an actual tree that came down, and they split it in half and said, let's use that for the Nature Discovery Trail.
Yeah,
so
so
it's
there's
cool
actually
stuff.
3 of these benches on the trail, all made from the same tree, which is a really neat thing to share with families when they're out visiting, knowing that that this element came from the park.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
pretty
cool stuff.
Yeah. Ready to head back down?
Yeah, let's go.
So at the bottom of the Lookout Mountain, we've come to our scent box trail. So what can you tell us about this trail?
Well, I know that our main purpose of this whole part is using your sense of smell.
Right.
And it's so neat, like when I've been out here before and I've seen like you go to the 3 different scent
Right.
boxes and it's got different scents, and when they get to the last one there's a surprise.
Yep.
So I watch the parents as they watch their kid go through it, and then the kid goes, oh.
Kind of watch their facial expressions.
Yeah, yeah.
And the cool thing is we're going to be changing the scents kind of with the season, so there'll always be something different, so it's not always the same smells.
Right.
So do you want to go try the first
Yeah,
one
let's
out?
see what, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try it first. You want to give it a try? It kind of smells like a little earthy.
Yeah.
Maybe?
I think it's something natural. It smells like dirt a little, like
Yeah.
soil maybe?
Maybe.
Is that? It was here before, so maybe that is it. Let's see. Soil, right. So on the lids, which is another cool thing, they can actually see what they're smelling.
Right.
And read
Learn
it.
a little bit about what it is and why it's important.
Right, educational. So they're actually learning, which part of the education part, there's so much education on this trail. And as we've gone, you know, we've developed a lot of cool things, but down the road we're going to be adding some more things as
Right.
you know, time goes on. So what are some of the things that we're going to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely going to be adding things to help folks identify the different trees on the trail. We talked about that, different plants that are along the trail, and then also adding things as time goes on, even wildflowers and more extended trail along when we get to the end there, kind of extending and adding some more wildflowers and for people to identify as well. So there'll always be things that we can add. So that's the neat thing about the trail is, like I said before, it's always going to be a little different.
Right. Well, let's go check out the other
Yeah.
scent boxes. Honey.
Honey!
I knew it. So, which is pretty cool. The honey sort of blends in with the nature center where you're going to have live bees
Yeah.
throughout, like pretty much the late spring, summer. Is that till fall, or when does that end?
Right, so we have them all through the spring, summer, and the fall, and they usually hibernate over the winter. As long as they've made it through the, you know, dry summer season, they can hibernate through the winter. So it's an observation hive that's inside the nature center, so kids can watch the bees work, bringing pollen out from inside and creating honey in the hive. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, this definitely connects to
with the nature
what's
center.
inside
Right,
the nature
right.
center.
Cool. Let's go to the last one. See
Okay.
what that one is. This might be the. I'm guessing the skunk is still
I
in
don't
here.
know.
Let me smell. You do it. You gotta smell it.
Oh, so strong.
Yep.
So yeah, so we have the skunk, which a lot of people typically associate with that smell. It's pretty distinct.
Right.
But then also putting in there that there's a plant that shares that same smell called skunk cabbage that
Right.
we have right here in Heritage Park. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Whew.
Let's go. So we're at the possum trail now. So a lot of people, what's the possum trail? They don't know what it is. So can you explain a little bit about the idea and what it's for?
The possum trail, it's really to give kids that sense when you close your eyes and you feel like a possum. So it's really neat when and there's not a lot of times where you're just going to close your eyes and walk through woods because
Right.
you don't know what you're going to run
Right.
into. So there's a rope that allows everybody to hold on to and sort of walk along the edge of it with your eyes closed, and you can hear so many things, and just and that's what a possum
So
feels like,
focusing
you know,
more
walking
on your
through.
sense of touch, which is highlighted here, and your sense of hearing, which possums are nocturnal animals. So they rely really heavily on their sense of touch, sense of smell, and their sense of hearing more so than their eyesight. So that's really what it's trying to get kids to focus on, is not using their eyes as much and more on following the trail by touch and hearing and all that great stuff. Yeah, and
the other cool thing is on the post. That
Yeah.
we're going to be adding a lot of different elements.
different textures along each post. So when you walk along, on the rope, you can stop at each post, and there's a different texture that you can kind of stop and feel and try to guess what it is.
Right.
So we've arrived at Trucker's Loop, which is actually one of my favorite parts of the trail because it's got a lot of great sensory stuff, and we're going to be adding things as time goes on too. So there's you using your sense of touch to dig in the sand pit, using your eyes to search for the animal tracks on the ground and things buried in the sand, and then listening for all the birds, things that have their nests up in the tree.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things in the sand? Like what are there bones? There's like
So
what kind of
yeah,
bones?
There's all kinds of cool bones of different animals that you can find right here in Heritage Park. So deer, raccoons, and then also fossils, rocks, all kinds of neat stuff, shells that the kids can find. So look like there's kids about to go and
Yeah.
check out the sand pit right now. So maybe let's go see what
What's
they find.
this? Is there a program going on, or what
Yeah,
is?
well, it's actually our Little Trekkers program.
Okay.
So that's where we got the idea for the Trekkers Loop.
Trekkers Loop,
Yeah.
right here, right.
for our little truckers, and they're preschool age, and they come with their parents, and it's a nature program. It allows them to explore the outdoors, learn different things about nature, and just really get up close and find different textures, smells, sounds. So it's a great program. So it looks like they're
So a
about
lot
to
of
go check
like
it out.
preschool. It looks like a lot of preschool.
age,
Right.
and younger. So
Cool.
yeah. So on the Truckers Loop, we have our fossil dig pit. It's actually a sand pit where we hide different treasures that kids can find, like shells and bones and fossils and all that great stuff. So you can see that the kids from our Little Truckers program are digging in,
Right.
not even needing instruction. So it's all kind of self-guided play, which is really great.
Right. You know what I noticed too, walking through here, there are some trees that are missing. Like it used to be real thick, and a lot of those were invasive species or dead ash trees. Like a lot of buckthorn was in here. Is it? Well, I know that we planted some pine trees, so we're trying to create a new type of area where there's more pines growing up, trying to replace the trees that were taken down. Which again, they're all a lot of buckthorn, invasive species, but a lot of people don't realize that if we cleared out all the buckthorn,
There'd be nothing.
right? There's not a lot.
Taking over completely. And I think another thought with planting those white pines over there was to create another cool space for kids to be able to play and use their imaginations. I think a lot of us as kids had a kind of a secret place in our yard or up north, or a place that we went camping or something like that
favorite
we had.
spot,
Kind of where your fort was, or a cool place that you could get away and just play. So that's what we kind of imagined when those pines get larger, a really cool kind of place where kids could go and use their imagination and play in that area. So it'd be really neat.
I think, again, creating all those memories, the kids are going to remember, like, oh, remember that cool spot I found that bone? Like,
when you can touch something and, feel how it feels and smells and how it sounds, those memories are going to stay with you a lot longer than just someone telling you something or leading you along a hike. So you're actually tangible, feeling it, smelling it, seeing it. So it's, a really great experience.
This is a cool area of the trail. I like it.
All right, well, let's go down the rest of the trail here. So we've reached the end of the Nature Discovery Trail, but I know there's a lot more to come, and there's a lot that lies beyond that hill over there to the rest of the park. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we sort of end at a certain point where eventually we may add some more things, like a wetland prairie area, more educational areas, as well as add to the Nature Discovery Trail. But at the top of the hill, there's the road where there's a stop sign. So it's a safe crosswalk area that, again, I mentioned earlier, connects to the splash pad, the playground, there's the amphitheater. So it's really that connector now, where before we didn't have that. So it's going to be used by our camps and all the different people that visit both areas of the park. It's also they're going to realize a lot of times they come in the nature center and say, we didn't even know you were here. So now it's going to, again, let people know, like, hey, there is a nature center here. And
getting
and
the families that are at the splash pad over to the nature center or the sledding hill.
Right, and it's been a lot of people coming through, and a lot of you'd mentioned like a lot of volunteers help out, and that's another cool thing that
here at the Nature Center, as you know, we rely really heavily on our volunteers. So especially for the Nature Discovery Trail, thanking all the volunteers that not only just donated their maybe financially, but also a huge amount of their time to make sure this was finished, and in the future donating a lot of their time. So if there are volunteers that are interested in helping with the Nature Discovery Trail, or with removing invasive species, or any of the other activities we have going on, they can check out the Nature Center or give us a call and find out more information about that. So I want to thank you for giving us a tour of the Nature Discovery Trail. It's really cool. There's a lot of really nice things that are going to be coming up, things that folks can look forward to too on the trail. Thanks for watching this episode of Nature in the Hills.